listening to the Bulldog Hour, getting you inside the Wilson football program with weekly game previews, recaps, highlights, and interviews. Now, here are your hosts, Joe Mays and Justin Raffoff.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Bulldog Hour. I am one of your hosts, Joe Mays, and here with me, as always, is my partner, co-host Justin Raffoff.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Kind of crazy. We've reached that time. Now we're doing game recaps, not just previews.
Whew,
insane.
Man, it is insane to think it is only August 25th.
Yes.
But we have a game done. Before September gets here, we'll have two games
Week
in.
0 is done. I'm just kidding.
No.
I'm kidding.
Did you see we have Paul Roberts on our side, too? He said that anyone who calls it week 0 is an instant block.
I agree, which is like football calling it, NCAA football calling it week 0 bothered me.
It's so frustrating.
Although, you know what else would bother me is everyone talking about next week is week 2 in college football because there were 4 games this week.
It's weirder for college because not very few teams play in that first week. So it makes a little bit more sense.
Right.
And it sort of made sense when this all came about. It was about 6 years ago.
Exactly. When it first started, I understood because it was a clear delineation. It let people know
because there were some teams that played 2 scrimmages
Right.
and then played in week 1.
Right.
But there were some that got rid of that second scrimmage, played in what was week 0, and then had like a bye during the week. I don't know why teams decided to do that. It was weird.
However,
I guess scheduling.
That's not the case anymore. So
No.
we finished week 1.
Right, we did. We're done with week 1. Week 1 in the books. I don't think there were any games scheduled or delayed to Monday. So the games across the state should have all been completed. It was a fun and entertaining and interesting week 1. The Bulldogs, of course, are the team that we care about the most.
Yeah.
Came away with the victory yesterday, Saturday afternoon at Upper Merion High School against Cheltenham. Wilson won 28-20, and Justin and I will talk all about that game here in a few moments, and then we also will finish with a preview of Wilson's second game, which will be the home opener at Instashine Car Wash Field at John Gursky Stadium this coming Friday, which is it August 30th?
Yes.
August
I think
30th.
Saturday is 31st and Sunday is the 1st.
Youth night, so it'll be great to have all the players and cheerleaders from Lincoln Park and Van Reed youth football, as well as the Wilson Southern and Wilson West Middle School players and cheerleaders out there to, welcome the high school team onto the field and cheer with the high school cheerleading squad. Very cool event. It always looks great, makes for great pictures and a great evening. And Wilson will be playing a team that they've never faced before. But remember, that is the alma mater of one of the senior players' fathers. So, we want to make sure we know what's going on and apologize to Scott Hunsaker if Wilson comes away with the W on Friday, which I assume he's probably also pulling for after the way the last few years have gone for his sons on the Wilson football field. So I think the Bulldogs reign supreme in that household right now. Actually, while we're thinking of it, congratulations to Christo for committing to play baseball at Millersville, where his older brother Tommy is the quarterback for the football team on the football team right now. So a lot of Ville love going on in the Hunsaker family and with the Wilson program. Obviously, Millersville is not a stranger to Wilson graduates. It's a popular location and a great school. It was always fun to visit there. It's a really cool school, and we'll be visiting nearby when we go to Penn Manor in October.
Christo can get all
the Sugar Bowl he wants. Yeah, it's amazing. What a great time. Great location. So before we get into the game recap, we do want to make sure we thank our sponsors, as the Bulldog Hour is presented by Mays Sandwich Shop, my dad, Bill Mays, as well as White Star Tours. We thank them for supporting the show this year and now for multiple years, or since the beginning as it pertains to my dad and Mays Sandwich Shop, and we thank them for their support over the years, as well as the Miller family and our 2 anonymous donors. Again, they've been with us for a long time as well, and we appreciate all the support that they give to us here at the Bulldog Hour. And if you would like to find out how you can help us, just let me know. Send me an email, message me on social media, or see me at a football game, which we saw a bunch of people on Saturday afternoon down at Upper Marion.
Not a bad turnout for a hot Saturday afternoon.
Honestly, I think Wilson had more fans than Cheltenham did.
Absolutely, yes.
This is normally when I'd say when our next live show is. I didn't get to check with you on this. I would like to keep it about the same time next week, but Justin and I have a fantasy draft right before we're supposed to do this. So I'm planning on having a show next weekend, hopefully next Sunday. I'll post about that coming up soon so we can recap the game against Plymouth-Whitemarsh and preview Game 3 against Nazareth area. But stay tuned for the timing on that. Would love to keep it the same time just to be consistent, but Justin and I haven't spoken about that yet. But looking at the schedule, Justin, week 2, first home game coming up. And then we got 2 more road games before we're back at Gursky on September 20th. And in between there's another little event happening at Gursky, and that will be the 80th season Wilson football alumni game on Saturday, September 14th, kickoff at 6 p.m. And we announced last week on this show the rosters. I'll throw them up there again so people can see them. I did post this across social media so you could take a bit to actually examine it rather than try to catch it live on the show here. I didn't mention too many names other than the captains, but there are over 50 alumni returning, and we look forward to having an excellent event at Instashine Field at Gursky Stadium on Saturday, September 14th. So just the day after the game at Reading High to be played at Albright, that Friday the 13th, come back to Gursky on Saturday the 14th for the alumni game. It is free admission. It's going to be a lot of fun. Besides the alumni coaches and players, we're going to have the cheerleaders there. I just talked to Coach Stacy about that. You probably have seen posts going around for an alumni pep band. That's happening as well. And, it's going to be a good time. There'll be concessions. And, it's if you were there 5 years ago, it should be pretty similar. We're trying to evoke that same kind of energy and sentimentality, and the players are all excited for it. Some of them are trying to organize some practices.
Oh gosh!
I said that's all on you if you'd like to do that, but it's gonna be a great time.
Do they need a heat act? No, I'm just kidding.
Obviously, they have requested the athletic trainers to be present, and that will be the case just like it was 5 years ago. Because we know that they are going to need some warming up and stretching.
Yeah, we should probably start making that ice now.
So, all right. Well, this is normally when I dive into and we talk about the game. But I feel like there's something that we need to address before we do that, because anyone that's listened to this show for a while knows that Justin and I have many stories that we can tell. There's many stories that we can't tell, but we tell a lot of stories that we are allowed to tell. But instead of telling you the story of what happened on Saturday before the game, we actually, in the moment, decided we could video our entire ordeal. So I'm going to throw that up here, and you can just kind of see that we were tasked with an errand again Saturday before the game. And when
we say before the game, we mean before the game.
So we can set it up. We're standing on the sideline getting ready to, I'm getting ready to do some pregame photographs. You want to go up and check the video equipment for the iPad huddle stuff. And we see running back coach Jake Peterson walking towards us. And he says something to the effect of, "Are you guys ready to go for a drive?" or something. And Justin and I both, just started laughing, thinking about a few years ago when we were driving around Harrisburg trying to find a Best Buy for an adapter or a cord for the end zone
the
camera.
Charger, I think.
Was it a charging thing? So immediately Justin and I had flashbacks and realized that no, Jake wasn't joking. He started to describe a cord to us that he needed for the camera. So Justin and I immediately left the Upper Marion Field and got in Justin's car.
To be clear, there was a cord there. It was not working the way it was supposed to.
It wasn't. This was forgotten. The cord was no longer working, which was working at the scrimmage, no longer working a week later. But we recorded some of it. I put a little video together. It's about 2.5 minutes long. It's just for fun and a joke, but I thought it would be funny to play it on the show, so we're gonna do that right now. Okay, so that was it. That was pretty fun to actually film. We were dying laughing this entire drive.
We also kept saying, "Oh, this would be hilarious to talk about if we win."
Right? Yeah, that's true. It wasn't going to be produced if we didn't win. So, yay, winners! It was a little nerve-wracking because we went to Target and didn't find anything.
Right, there was a Target like
not even a full mile away.
No, it was like the distance from like a little further than May's Sandwich Shop from Wilson High School, but not too far. It was like on the edge of the development, and they had lots of cords. And honestly, even a cord that we were looking for, it said it was in stock, but it was not.
It was not. No.
And then the guy tried to sell you
sell you.
Yeah.
He tried to sell us some cell
But
phone.
shout out to David from Best Buy.
Yeah, I was gonna mention. Yeah, David was a lifesaver for us, able to find, because we looked at a spot for cords, couldn't find anything. Looked at another spot for cords, couldn't find anything. Tried to look it up online, couldn't find what we needed that could be ready in an hour. We were just gonna ask if they had it in the back, and I think we ended up calling Jake and being like, "Hey, is there another port or something? Is there another cord we can use?" And when he sent us a picture of it, we started to look again and found someone. We're like, "Hey, we're looking for this." And hey, there was a magic third spot with cords that we finally found everything we needed. So we got back at about 20 minutes before kickoff?
Yeah.
I think 15 to 20 minutes before kickoff. So we were gone for a bit, but end zone camera worked. Got the tape done.
It's part of the reason why we like to be there
early. Yeah, right. I know. A lot of times people are like, "Why do you go like 2.5 hours before the game starts?" Because things like this come up. We've had to drive to Governor Mifflin to fetch stuff. You've had to leave Governor Mifflin to go and get something and bring it back. So yeah, we've been all over the place. But so I'm playing the slideshow of pictures. Some of them, I mean, the high-speed camera takes a lot of the same photos, but it's just going to play through while we talk about the victory over Cheltenham. So Wilson went down to Upper Merion High School to play Cheltenham on Saturday, August 24th. Kickoff was at 1 p.m. It was very hot on that turf yesterday. Yeah. And we saw that throughout the game as players from both schools were cramping up a lot, especially in the second half. There were a lot of injury stoppages. I don't believe, at least for sure for Wilson, there were no significant injuries. It was almost all related to the heat and cramping. I believe a lot of that was happening with Cheltenham as well. I don't know if they had any other injuries.
Not that I saw, but like I wasn't looking that closely.
It felt like a week one first game for both teams.
Yes.
There was a lot of good. There was some not so good. There were a couple bad things for each team. And it's kind of the way we have come to expect things to happen. It was Wilson's first opening win since 2021 when Wilson beat Central Dauphin the first night of the season. The last 2 years, Wilson's fallen to Roman Catholic, so it was nice to start in the win column this season, especially in a delayed game on the road against
in the heat
and a team that you're not super familiar with. You had a little bit from last year, but all in all, it was pretty good. We had the debut of Maddox Gruber at quarterback. You're going to hear from him shortly, so I don't want to ruin how he grades himself, but I thought things, for being a first start, I thought things went pretty well.
Yeah.
There was obviously one mistake that was costly with the interception, but otherwise, I thought Maddox played a very good game, both with his arms and his feet. I thought he made some good decisions. Yeah. I thought he looked like a great threat back there as both a passer and a rusher. It was nice to see two running backs get a lot of action. Carell Akings looked great. So did Monty Greer in the backfield. They did definitely use the tight ends a lot. I mean, you can't say enough about what Cam Zulinger, Michael Glover, Christo Hunsaker, and Brady Klein were able to do throughout the game. All four of them were involved heavily. Cam Zulinger, I believe, led the team with 6 catches.
And we, as we mentioned later, again, he had some called back too. But the tight end position group as a whole played really well. And
they're going to have to make some
and a lot of those guys contributed on the other side of the ball as well. So like they just that group of 4 had a really strong game offensively, but also defensively.
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely. Don't want to forget about them defensively either, because all 4 of them played key roles. Lots of tackles for loss, a lot of pressure. Even when they didn't get the sack, they were forcing the quarterback to either scramble or make throws on the run. And I didn't realize their quarterback was a sophomore. I thought he looked pretty good for only a
doesn't
sophomore.
throw it like a sophomore.
No, he does not. We'll get to see him again next year then at Gursky.
Yeah.
But overall, it was a solid effort. It did feel like, at least to me, and of course there's Wilson bias here, I thought we controlled the game for the most part.
Oh, yeah.
Let Cheltenham in it. Couldn't quite put them away. We couldn't quite maintain that 2-score lead for the whole time or stretch it to 3. But we got stopped on 4th and goal after the opening possession interception by Monty Greer, gets stopped short of the goal line. I still not certain that Carell wasn't in on 2nd or 3rd down in that series.
From my view, I couldn't tell. I thought on one of those, and I don't recall, I thought on one of those he was pulled in, but I from where I'm at, it's a guess at best.
So it all happened so quickly, and I'm looking through a camera lens trying to figure things out. I thought both times he could have very well crossed the plane of the goal line.
Right.
They didn't rule it that way. Wilson gets stopped on 4th down. Does get the ball back. Monty eventually scores, and things look pretty good. Gave up some big defense would shut them down, like get them into 2nd, 3rd, and long. Especially sometimes they were in like 3rd and 15, 3rd and 20. Then there'd be a mistake or a coverage breakdown, and they would pick up that. Those are the things that have to be cleaned up.
Right, and yes, yep.
Especially right before half. I believe one happened. They eventually scored. Then we know there was the interception that led to another score. So big plays were the Achilles heel for Wilson in this, to not be able to put it away.
Right, yeah, to kind of let Cheltenham hang in there. But like we kind of discussed, to be honest, kind of looking at some of the explosive power that it seemed that Cheltenham may have, and with a quarterback that can throw it the way it would appear that their quarterback can, I thought overall, nice job, on the big plays. We talked about some of those were just bad luck. Some of them were just maybe mental mistakes that, hey, they capitalized on. And we were fortunate enough to make enough plays, though, that we were able to withstand that and still come out of there with a win, but it still leaves plenty to work on. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of where you're at in week 1, like a lot of times. And so to get out of there with a win and still have plenty to work on, I don't know that there's a team across the state, regardless of their outcome, that is going to be completely satisfied with their, the way they played this past weekend. That's just not how it works. So, you made enough plays. You made you had a lot of contributions from a lot of people. We already talked about, like, the entire group of those tight ends were big. You had some of the young guys stepping up. You had some of the guys who are maybe more veteran but haven't been in those roles as much kind of stepping up. I thought the offensive line did a good job. Like, in that first series, didn't seem to need to make some adjustments. Mm-hmm. But I thought they did.
Yeah.
I thought they really did. Against a big and athletic group of D linemen.
Yep.
I thought they did. And that's not to say it was perfect, but I liked seeing them be able to make in-game adjustments and so quickly was good. It's got to be frustrating for Maddox because the throw that got intercepted, I know. I mean, that was kind of right in front of us. He has the guy. It's just the throw was behind, but he knows that. But what I liked was he bounced right back.
Oh yeah, he
bounced right back and
didn't let him.
Right, and
he did not let it.
And made some great plays, including
the next offensive series.
Right. And was able to put a ball perfectly where he needed to let his guy make a play. So like, that's all you can really ask for. You would love to play mistake-free football. That's highly unlikely. So the next best thing is to play where your guys can put that mistake behind them and move on and make the next play. And that's really what I thought we did most of the time. And that's I think a good sign moving forward, because those are the things that we hopefully will be able to grow from and draw off those successes as well and replicate that. So, you can learn something from the plays that didn't go the way you want. You can learn something from the plays that did go the way you want. And I liked the contributions from lots of different places. That was good. So.
Yeah, one of the plays that did go the way we wanted was the play right before halftime with just, about 3 seconds to go at the snap. Maddox scrambled away from some pressure and threw it downfield for, one of the biggest guys on the field, probably a good plan. And he put it at a spot where Michael Glover, the sophomore tight end, went up to get it, made a fantastic catch over a defender.
After getting held.
Right, yeah. Well, I wasn't sure if the penalty was on him or Christo.
I wasn't sure either.
Christo's guy, because Christo was getting tackled as well.
Yeah, that picture does look like Christo. Like the guy was tackling Christo.
Yeah, he was. But yeah, Michael went up and got it, came down, scored the touchdown. Great celebration from Christo running to him.
I love you see Christo. You see Brady in the backfield,
everyone. Yeah. So it was great. It was awesome, and I'm glad I positioned myself where I did because I got some great photos of that entire series. But that put Wilson up by 2 scores going into halftime. Was it?
No.
Put it back up by a full score because it was 14-12 at that point, right?
Oh, you know what? No.
Am I getting confused? Trying to remember. Well, let me pull up the stats page. We can just go through that rather than trying to.
I feel like that put us back up 21-12.
Right. All right. Where's my? Well, we're gonna go over the stats.
No,
anyway,
it was 14-12 at half.
21-12 at half.
Oh, it was 21-12?
21-12 at half.
Okay.
Yeah. So, that's huge.
Right.
To go up.
Right.
To go up by technically 2 scores.
And we received the ball to start second half.
Right.
So
and had the ball for most of the third quarter.
That was huge in a game where people are really cramping up and there's a battle of attrition taking place. That was huge.
Yeah, and they had gotten 2 quick scores.
Right.
To because Wilson's feeling good, up 14-0.
Right.
Missed the extra point the first time, but got the 2-point conversion next time. Then they score on a drive. I believe that was the drive that they capitalized on 3rd and long.
Yes.
And then Wilson's next drive is the interception that eventually leads to the touchdown. So all of a sudden, it's 14-12. You're about to go into halftime. You've lost the momentum.
Right.
You gave up a couple big plays. Well, with 39 seconds left, you get the ball back, and because of this proper scheming, execution, and athleticism of your players, you get to score again.
You mentioned it. Maddox bouncing right back and taking what the defense was giving him. He got it to the guys on the edge who made some plays and got out of bounds to help conserve clock and got into a position where, hey, let's chuck one up. And that worked out well.
The team went 61 yards in 34 seconds, with 37 yards being the touchdown pass as time expired. I believe the clock probably was at 0 before he threw the ball because, like I said, it only was about
he rolled out
3 or 4 seconds to start. And he stepped in the pocket, avoided pressure, went to the side, got very close to the line of scrimmage before he even get downfield, and put it in a perfect spot for Michael Glover to go up and get it. And he go up and get it. He did. That was awesome. So 21-12 at halftime. Wilson got the ball to start the second half. Had possession for a long time. Corell Akings. There was no scoring in the third quarter. Corell eventually would put Wilson, extend the Wilson lead with about 6 minutes or so to play in the fourth quarter. Feeling pretty good about it, but then they connect on a deep pass that actually was deflected, bobbled by a Wilson safety. Right. It's one of those bad, unlucky bounces.
Right.
There's not much you can do about it. Obviously, you want to knock it down or pick it off yourself, but like the coaches were saying, you were in the right position.
Right.
You had good coverage.
Right. That last part of the play, we finish it. It's a great play, but a lot went right on that play until it went wrong.
Right.
Let's focus on, okay, you're going to make that play the next time and do the things you did to get in position there. Do that again. So I kind of feel like that is like a lot of the game. Not everything went exactly the way we would like, but there were a lot of good things that we can draw on as well.
Wilson had the ball for 9 minutes and 35 seconds in the third quarter.
That's awesome. In a game where you had just gone up 2 scores to start the or at the end of the first half to start the second half, and then just control it. That's great.
Now it was actually flipped in the second quarter. They had it for over 9 minutes in the second quarter. But Wilson had a lot of possession in the second half, 17 minutes in the second half, 25, almost 26 minutes total. So let's look at some statistics from the 28-20 Wilson win over Cheltenham. All right, so first downs, Wilson led the way 18-12, and pretty even, 9 rushing, 8 passing, 1 via penalty. Cheltenham did not pick up a first down on the ground the entire game. That's good for what we're going to talk about in our preview next. Net yard rushing. Wilson went with 183 net rushing yards on 39 rushing attempts. They gained 205, but had lost 22. Cheltenham rushed for 15 yards on 18 carries, which is less than 1 yard per carry. Wilson quarterbacks were 15 of 21. I believe that was all Maddox. Maddox did miss a few snaps, and Cole Peterson came in for him, the sophomore, but I don't believe Cole attempted any passes. I think they were all rushing plays.
And I think he got the ball off both times, but I think it was behind him, so I don't think that would.
Well, and one, he kept it and made an excellent decision to not pitch it on the option and picked up a first down.
He kept it, got up there, and then got down. That was really good, yeah.
Cheltenham was 17 of 33. Both teams threw an interception. Wilson's was at the beginning. Monty stepped in front of a pass. The sophomore safety didn't set up a touchdown. That was when Wilson got stuffed on fourth down, but it was a great play, great way to start the season for sure. Total offensive yards, Wilson had 355 to Cheltenham's 268. And again, man, I think if you take away 3 of their plays, I don't think they're hitting 200. They may be hovering around 150. So overall, it was a pretty solid day for the defense. I know Coach Ernie Walber, the defensive coordinator, was very optimistic about this team this year defensively, what they could do. And you clean up a few of those mistakes. And honestly, I think they were mostly mental. I don't know that there were any real physical mistakes.
Which, again, early in the season, that can be a good sign because, hey, let's fix that. Like, now you saw it. We had a lot of guys in that secondary who were getting their first
game action.
Right.
Varsity game action.
And in a game where there's guys chucking the ball. You know, like that kid could throw it.
Yeah, he could. He was very, very promising future.
And so, yeah. Man, there were a couple of plays, though, where we had some guys on defense lay some big hits.
Yeah.
I know we talked about they talked in the preseason interviews about, wanting to be like a strong physical football team. Some of those guys,
they were throwing their body
EJ hit
around,
some guys. Christo,
Maddox, Brady, Maddox,
hit a couple guys. Yeah,
Cam. Yeah. They were moving around very good. Both teams ended up with 10 penalties. Honestly, we talked about this. Justin thought the refs were good.
I thought they were a non-factor, which is exactly what you want.
And I mean, I know 10 and 10, they call it the equity is there,
right?
I saw some people think each team should always have the same number of penalties. That's not the way it works. In this case, it was. I know there's some questions in the second half about a couple penalties, but I thought it was a pretty good. Well, we've certainly seen far worse.
Oh yeah,
so I thought this group was pretty good.
Yeah, I thought they did a really good job.
Third down conversions, Wilson was 6 of 12 on third downs, so pretty successful. Unfortunately, Cheltenham was 5 of 13, so that you need to clean up a little bit. Third down, tighten things up a little bit there. Both teams were 2 for 3 in the red zone. Wilson ended up with 4 sacks, and Cheltenham had 3. So a few individual let's stay with the defensive side first before we go to offense. Christo Hunsiker led the way with tackles for Wilson, 7.5 total tackles, 6 of them solo, 2.5 for loss, a pass breakup, and 2 sacks. So Christo was everywhere.
He was everywhere. And he was effective in lots of different roles. Whether they had him kind of in the middle there, whether they had him outside kind of helping bump guys, or whether they had him pass rushing, he was effective. Yes.
Safety Chase Herb had 4.5 tackles. Maddox Druber, two-way cornerback, not a common thing at Wilson for sure. 3.5 tackles, 1.5 for loss, 2 pass breakups. Brady Klein had 3 tackles and credited with half a sack. You mentioned E.J. Brownback flying around. Ethan Harding, I don't know that he was credited with any sacks, but had a couple good pressures off the edge.
Yes, and he had a couple. There were a couple plays where he was involved in big ways, even if statistically not there. So, yeah, that's another young guy stepping up. So that's helpful.
Corell Akings ended up rushing for 95 yards net on the ground. He had 2 touchdowns, however. Maddox also picked up 52 on the ground, and Monty Greer had 7 rushes for 28 yards and a score. He also picked up a 2-point conversion, and Cole Peterson had a 9-yard gain when he was relieving Maddox, who was cramping. We talked about that already. And Maddox was 15 of 21 for 172 yards through the air with 1 touchdown. His primary target, his favorite target, was Cam Zulinger, 6 catches, 74 yards, and he had 2 more called back on back-to-back plays that really would have set up Wilson to extend their lead, but were called back due to penalties. Tight end Mike Glover also 3 catches, 43 yards, and a touchdown. Obviously, that big one right before half stands out. Jaden Carpenter had 2 catches for 9 yards. Corell had a catch for 23. So did Brady, Monty, and Christo also hauled in a pass during this game. So, Justin, it was another strong showing up and down. I don't know that anyone... sometimes our player of the game is an easy choice. Someone has, a statistical crazy game.
Right.
There's no doubt about it. This is who gets the nod for our player of the week, player of the game. There were, I'd say, at least 4 or 5 that we could have gone with this week.
Yeah.
I think Christo stands out as someone that could have gotten the nod. Same thing with Corell, 2-way player. I mean, obviously Maddox for sure. What he was able to do for his first start at quarterback and also playing defense. Glover with the what could be the play of the game. So many options. Cam Zulinger flying around often, but I think getting things started quickly and doing things on both sides of the ball, standing out both with a touchdown, a 2-point conversion, and an interception. So our first player of the game for the season for 2024, game 1 at Cheltenham, is going to be sophomore running back, defensive back, Monty Greer. So I didn't mention him when we talked defensive statistics, but he did have second most tackles on the team with 5 and had that interception, and actually had a second interception that was waved off because of a Wilson penalty.
Right.
So he was making some big plays in his first varsity start. I know he and his other fellow sophomores have high expectations of them, and I believe they're all, after one game, living up to those expectations. So hopefully they can keep it going for sure. So our player of the week for 2024 game 1 is sophomore running back and defensive back Monty Greer. All right, Justin, you have anything else you want to add about Cheltenham before we move on to week 2?
I think, Cheltenham is still a little bit of an unknown, like to not so much the team. They've done the studies and they've done those things, but to a lot of the Wilson fans. But I'm telling you, watching that team, I think that's a team that's going to win a good number of football games this year. Like, they're in Suburban 1, so that's a really tough district to be in. But I think they're going to be a team that does pretty decent this year. And so, hey, I wish them a lot of luck in the rest of their games.
Yeah, you and I have been talking about that a lot.
Keep winning games. I hope they win a lot of the rest of their games.
Right.
So, I think that's a good win. We were able to get out of there. And hey, let's regroup. It's going to be a different game this coming week, and we'll get into that in just a minute.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be...
But it's great to get off on the right foot. Like having a game you can learn a lot from when it's a win is a lot more fun than having a game you can learn a lot from when it's not a win. So,
before we move on to Plymouth-Whitemarsh, we did talk to some players after the game.
Oh, yeah.
So I want to play that audio now, and let's make sure that everything's working before we move on. And, yeah. So you're going to hear from, was it 5? I think we talked to 5 players, Justin. So let's play that for you right now.
Yeah, you recording? Yes? Okay. All right, we're joined post-game with 5 Wilson Bulldogs after their victory over Cheltenham, 28-20. Road game on a Saturday in the heat. How do you guys feel after that first victory?
Happy about the win. But terrible.
Yeah. About the win.
Body feels terrible.
It was a tough game. A lot of us started cramping, but we just had to overcome it.
Well, I think we have every touchdown scorer here. All the contributors are standing here with us. Didn't grab any of the linemen yet, and Mike, a little hybrid action blocking on the line. But Maddox, first start at quarterback in your high school career. How did you feel out there?
I'm not going to lie. It was a little nerve-wracking at first, but as soon as that first play happened, I got over it and we played. Self-reflection,
what do you give yourself for a grade today? How do you think you did?
Let's see.
See? Yeah. Okay. All right. Passing, but room for improvement, right? Yeah. All right, Cam, you were all over the field, offense, defense, making plays. Unfortunately, a few of them didn't count, kept getting called back, but you and Maddox seem to have a connection. Is that something you've been working on for a while?
I mean, yeah, this is my guy, so he kind of just knows where I'm at, sees me and throws it.
Corell making plays, offense, defense, special teams. You got into the end zone, I think, 2 times tonight, or this afternoon. What did it feel like to get back into the touchdowns and the catches, the running, everything? How'd your first game feel?
It felt great. Just getting back into the routine of the football again.
Did it feel good to be out there starting the secondary as well?
Yeah, a little bit nerve-wracking. Not going to lie.
Monty started off the game with the interception, got a touchdown, 2-point conversion. How'd your first varsity start feel?
It felt amazing because I wasn't really this wasn't where I was last year, so I'm just happy about it and excited for the season.
Michael, play right before halftime. We went down the field, went up, got it over top of the defensive back. Were you the number 1 target on that? Was it coming to you?
Yes, sir. We just said at the end of the half, just throw it up.
I was like,
let me go
down there.
I was like, Mike's down there somewhere.
Maddox made a great throw, and I just went up and caught it.
All right, guys. Well, all around complete team effort, all 3 phases of the game. A few hiccups there and there, but got the victory on the road. A little bit messed up schedule. We'll always take that. At home next week, home opener, youth night at Gursky Stadium this coming Friday, Plymouth-Whitemarsh. What does it mean to run out onto that field, especially on the night where the youth are cheering you on?
It's crazy. The atmosphere at Gursky Stadium is it's different, especially for high school. There's very few places that can match the energy.
Yeah, special night.
All right, I did get the official stats here. Corell, you finished with 95 yards and 2 touchdowns rushing. Maddox, 52. Maddox, you 172 yards passing and a touchdown. Cam, you're right, 6 catches, 74 yards, and there were at least 2 or 3 more called back. So a big game from you and Michael, of course. 3 catches, 43 in that big one before half. That really carried you with a lot of momentum into halftime. So, guys, thanks so much for joining us on Post Game with Bulldog Hour. Good luck next week, and hopefully we'll talk to you all again real soon.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, so that was a few of the big-time players from the win over Cheltenham, getting off to a 1-0 start, 28-20, the victory for Wilson. Year 19 off to a good start for Coach Doms and his team. They don't get to wait too long because they got a 6-day turnaround for the next game, and that is against Plymouth-Whitemarsh Colonials, coming off a victory themselves. They got a big one on Friday night, coincidentally enough, against Upper Merion, who was hosting our game on Saturday. So Plymouth-Whitemarsh beat Upper Merion 49-14 to open the season. And Upper Merion didn't score until the 4th quarter when it was well in hand. The mercy rule had actually gone into effect from the start of quarter 3 as Plymouth-Whitemarsh was up 35-0 at halftime. And Justin, a little bit of a different look offensively for the Wilson defense this coming week against the Colonials.
Yeah, Plymouth-Whitemarsh, kind of looking at some of the stats here. They rushed the ball 40 times for 410 yards. That's a bit of a different average than what Wilson allowed this week. So,
which,
so just in that stat alone just tells you we are getting a very different style of football game.
They only attempted 7 passes because they didn't really need to throw that ball. No. The quarterback is returning starter. His name is Caden Lachinsky. He was 5 of 7, I believe, had a touchdown.
Yeah, 5 of 7 for 36 yards. So, effective, but that is clearly not their main mode of moving the ball. but enough to keep you honest. They did fumble the ball 5 times, but they only lost 2 of them.
All right.
Now, also, they had it does not tell me when those fumbles were, necessarily. So, like, I don't know. Those could have all come in the second half when it was Mercy Rule and backup and JVs in. I do not know.
Sure.
But they were only penalized twice for 20 yards. And again, they had 25 first downs. Yeah, they pounded the rock a lot.
Not only are they rushing the ball at will with ease, converting relentlessly, 410 yards is crazy. At 40 attempts, too. So they're averaging over 10 yards a carry on 40 attempts.
You'll sometimes see that someone is, like, averaging 10 yards a carry on maybe, like, 10 carries. Like, they had, like, 10 carries for, 105 yards or something, but one of those was, like, an 80-yard. No, this was over 10 yards a carry on 40 attempts.
Yeah. They had 13 players register at least 1 carry. Obviously, some of those are going to be JV players near the end of the game. But the bulk of the carries came from really 2 guys. Christian DiCurcio, 7 for 89 in the score. Everett Baker, 9 for 95 and 2 scores. So they had another guy, Mike Bongard, carried 3 times for 65. So he's a bigger play guy, over 20 yards a carry. Quarterback carried it 3 times for 12. So it's going to, I wish I knew how to pronounce it, DiCurcio. Any ideas there? No?
No clue.
We'll call him Christian and Everett. Christian D and Everett B had 16 carries for 184 yards. So that's where the bulk of the yardage came from. So we're looking for the 2 of them, and we'll see if Wilson can stop it. It's definitely a different offense than what we saw this week, and it's definitely a different offense than what we'll see in 2 weeks against Nazareth. That'll be more of the balance or lean spread pass happy type style. Right. So in between week 1 and week 3, week 2, Plymouth-Whitemarsh is ground and pound. This is, I don't know if they identify as option or midline or veer or what exactly they would call it, but it is run again, run some more, continue to run the ball, which hopefully feeds into a strength of the Wilson defense, as Coach Wolver has alluded to on the show with us and has said since then as well.
Yeah, and it was hard to get a glimpse. They did a good job against the run for the most part on Saturday, but like it was a very different. Most of the runs or run attempts that Cheltenham had were kind of like at least early on, were kind of read option kind of stuff, and then you had some other design kind of like misdirection or end around kind of things. But like for the most part, our defense did a good job with that. Just on the sheer volume, I'm assuming this is one of those types of offense where the guys are going to have to stay disciplined. You got to get that backside staying home. You got to fill those holes in the middle, like, meet the blocker at the line kind of thing. And you need the D-line to take up blocks, so that you're not getting those blocks onto the linebackers. So it's going to be a different game. You're on a shorter week to play this kind of ground and pound, I'm sure, physical type of game. But, hey, you get to play at home. You're only guaranteed 4 home games this year. Would love to see more, but, winning a game like this is another step in potentially getting another home game, So I think Plymouth-Whitemarsh had 9 wins last year, so another good team.
Yeah, they were 9-2.
Right. So, hey, you got to get ready. You got to be ready, and I know it's a different challenge, but those are good things because you can face all kinds of different teams throughout the season. So seeing kind of what we got, adjusting, make those adjustments. I said we made lots of adjustments during the game, I thought, on Saturday. Hopefully we can be prepared and make lots of good adjustments this week and be prepared for what we're going to face on Friday night.
So I think that's about it for our preview, excuse me, of the game against Plymouth-Whitemarsh this coming Friday, August 30th at Instashine Car Wash Field at John Gursky Stadium. 7 o'clock kickoff against the Colonials as Wilson kicks off their home slate. Like Justin said, only 4 home games this year. Got to take advantage of that. Got to win enough to get a 5th game in the playoffs at Gursky. Youth night, so come out, be loud. You heard the players talk about how there's nothing like playing at Gursky. It's one of the best home fields across the state. We've had other people talk about that before, including our man Andy Herr. He loves coming to Gursky. Hopefully we get him to come by this year.
If not, hopefully he meets us at Penn Manor.
So just to wrap things up here, we got about 10 minutes to go. Just want to touch on some of the other Berks and LL teams that were in action, and even some District 3 teams that were in action this first week. See, Exeter got the win on Friday night over Daniel Boone.
That
That's
makes it 12 in a row.
Rivalry game there. Governor Mifflin got off to a hot start, rebounding from a disappointing Eastern Conference playoff loss last year to Pleasant Valley.
And you and I talk about these situations often when they come up. The backups had a goal line stand to preserve the shutout. So
even bigger. You're right. Yeah, that's a big one for them as well. So, Exeter gets the win over Boone. Governor Mifflin shuts out Pleasant Valley 35-0. Probably the shocker of the evening, though, and you and I were updating each other while this was happening, was Muhlenberg opening their 80th season, just like the Wilson football program, at a newly turfed field, just like at Wilson this year. We've had turf before, though, just a new field at Gursky this year. But Muhlenberg debuting a new turf field, hosting Schuylkill Valley, who is the pretty much favorite to win.
So the favorite to win Section 5.
Section 5. Is that Section 5?
I thought they're Section 5.
Sorry, I was thinking, for some reason I was thinking they were Section 4. But they're the odds-on favorite to win their section in the LL League. And also, you're right, Section 5. And also to possibly win District 3A.
Right.
And they went to Muhlenberg and lost to the Mules, who have not been very strong for...
They'd won 5 games in the last 6 years.
Right. I was going to say at least 5 years. So 6 years. They haven't even averaged a win a year and for over half a decade, and beat Schuylkill Valley on Friday night. So that was definitely an interesting one. I think that no one really saw coming. Connor Weiser got the win over Abington. Fleetwood beat Kutztown. Twin Valley beat Berks Catholic for the first time ever. Twin Valley looks to be one of the strongest teams in Berks and District 3 this year. They've got a big one this week against Sealands Grove. That's a very interesting early season matchup. Octorara beat Hamburg. Southern Columbia came to Wyomissing, and Wyomissing and Coach Steve O'Neill got the victory against Jim Roth's team, who he was looking for. Coach Roth was looking for win number 500. I believe it was.
I think it's safe to say he'll get it at some point.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure he'll get it at some point. I know Southern Columbia was completely rebuilding that team this year. They lost, I think it was like 18 or 19 starters from last year's team that won their 7th straight state championship. But Wyomissing looked good. They actually were, I think they were up 28-0 at halftime. So Wyomissing also rebuilding this year, restocking, lost a big class to graduation. In LL1 news, Manheim Township beat up on Cumberland Valley.
Yeah. That game was 14-14 and then ended 42-14.
So, it's early. Don't know what to take from week 1, but Township...
That's a problem for week 10.
That's a week 10 problem. Yeah, maybe if we talk to Mike and Jeff again, closer to Halloween, we'll have more to say about the Blue Streaks, but they looked very good against Cumberland Valley. Penn Manor lost at Conestoga Valley. Conestoga Valley is supposed to be one of the best teams in Section 2. So not a huge surprise. And Cocalico got a good start against Elizabethtown. If you follow along with Mike Drago Sports, I'm involved in his pick'em, and I had a pretty good start. I tied with a bunch of people at 11-3, but the leader is Mr. Jeff Reinhardt at 12-2. I got upended because I picked Pleasant Valley over Governor Mifflin, not knowing what to expect from either of those teams. I actually switched my pick right before I sent it over. I should have stuck with the Mustangs. Shame on me there. So. Any other games, Justin, that jumped out to you? Harrisburg. Harrisburg hosted LaSalle College High School and got beat up pretty good by LaSalle. So LaSalle was the team to beat before St. Joe's Prep really exploded on the scene, and LaSalle College looks to have a pretty strong team this year. You may have heard us talk about it a little bit last week on our preview show, but Harrisburg will now be out without Sean Lee. He was ruled ineligible by, I believe, both PIAA and District 3.
And has made plans or is in. It appears he's off to prep school in New York.
I was going to say, I believe he has moved out of state to finish his whatever school year this would be for him.
I would imagine if the schoolwork aligns, and the prep school could probably make this work too, that he'll end up at Pitt in January would be my guess.
Right, that's right. He was committed to play.
That would be my guess, but we shall see.
Yeah, so big one. Lots of games this Thursday. That's becoming a thing now in high school football because of the earlier start.
Especially this weekend. So like when a team can get it on this weekend.
Leading into Labor Day, not trying to keep the Labor Day weekend long for kids to finish their summers. Teams are playing on Thursday nights, so you have Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. You don't have to worry about a football game on Friday or Saturday of Labor Day weekend. Teams are playing on Thursday, and one of the big ones is Manheim Township and Central York playing on Thursday night. So that'll be a big game in District 3, 6A for sure. So I think that about does it. Justin, final thoughts on Cheltenham game 1 and getting ready for Plymouth-Whitemarsh for game 2.
Like you said, plenty to clean up, plenty to work on. That being said, I thought there were lots of positives as well. A lot to build on. Lots of guys contributing that we're going to need to continue to grow and contribute for this team across the year. And hey, you got one of your home games here. You got a short week, so you got to prepare. That short week may seem long because you're starting like classes with school. So, kind of handle your business there and be ready to go on Friday night in front of the Gursky crowd. Hopefully it's a nice night, and hopefully it's not high 80s like yesterday, and we can at 7 o'clock on Friday anyway, and we'll kind of hopefully have another great night.
Unfortunately, I think it's supposed to be warm all week long. I'm not sure what Friday night is looking like, but it's supposed to be pretty hot again this week. Last week was beautiful.
Yeah.
It started to get hot for the game on Saturday, but leading up to the game was very nice. And this week, at least during the week, peaking, I think, on Wednesday in the high in the mid-90s, things are feeling like summer once again. But I'm ready for fall and more Wilson football. And we get a bonus game, not extra home game this year, but an alumni event, remember, is happening on Saturday, September 14th. Again, free admission. Come out and cheer on 50 former Wilson football players in their return to Gursky Stadium for another event and serving as a bit of a fundraiser for the team. Any additional funds raised from the event will go right back to the Wilson football program. All right, I think that about does it again. Congratulations to our Game 1 player of the week, sophomore running back, defensive back, Monty Greer. And again, live show, I'm thinking same time, same place as always next week, as long as we can do that with the other events we have Labor Day weekend. But expect to hear from us recapping the Plymouth-Whitemarsh game, Wilson versus the Colonials on Friday, August 30th. We should have a recap then on Sunday, September 1st. Aim for the 6:30 start. I'll make some posts about it as soon as Justin and I know for sure that can happen. But I think that's it. So thank you everyone for joining us here on the 6th episode of the 10th season of the Bulldog Hour. Justin and I will be back next week and every weekend throughout the Wilson football season to talk about the Wilson games. We'll have interviews, highlights, pictures, video, and maybe some more pregame errands from us, whatever the coaching staff and players
hopefully
need.
Not.
Yeah. Hey, but if it comes up, we get the job done.
Hey,
we've done it now multiple times.
Who are you going to call?
Bulldog Hour, right?
All right, that's right.
So, all right, thanks for listening, everyone, and we'll be back again in just a week. So, for Justin Raffoff, the entire Wilson football program, I'm Joe Mays, and until next time, remember, go Bulldogs.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Bulldog Hour. Want more Wilson football? Follow the show on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and SoundCloud. Or visit www.bulldoghour.com. The Bulldog Hour is a featured program on jmnjrradio.com.